To start, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for city council?
Let's see. I've been in Justin for about 6.5 years now. We moved here in June of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I were looking for a small, quiet town that has potential to grow. Um, Being newer to Texas, only being in Texas for 8 years, we saw what was happening with the Metroplex. When we first moved here, we lived in Burleson. Then we rented an apartment in Dallas until we figured out exactly where we wanted to live. And after exploring Justin quite a bit and McKinney, Anna, and Aveda, Justin just kept calling us back. And we started looking deeply at houses out here. We walked into one. I'll never forget it. It was in March, and it was a torrential downpour. We pull up to the house, the storm sirens are going off. We're like, oh, great, tornado, here we come. And the house was just everything that we were looking for. And we happened to get stopped by a train on the way into town, so it was just fitting. I grew up in a train town, so I'm used to hearing the trains. I'm used to getting stopped by the trains. Most of the time, I don't even hear the train unless I'm on the front porch of the mule barn. Um, so it kind of kept bringing me this direction to want to be in a train town because that's where I grew up, next to a military base in a train town, the most sound you could possibly have, and we had it where I grew up, and this just feels like home to me back in Louisiana. Um, I started getting involved in politics probably around 2021, 2022, when the city started pushing the bond for the Justin Town Square, where they wanted to build the new fire station, wanted to build this Taj Mahal City Hall, new police department. And I wasn't a fan of how the bond was presented. Um, the, the facts weren't adding up to me that the city was able to put out. And when you would ask council members certain questions, I wasn't getting the response I was expecting to get. Now, knowing what I know now after just going through this most recent bond election, there's certain things that council is legally not allowed to say, and there's certain things that we're legally allowed to say, like we can only present the facts, and that's what the current council was doing at the time. Of that current council, only two that were on that council are still here, which is the current mayor James Clark and Tomas Mendoza, who is city council place two. Um, so it made me really start paying attention to local politics more. I never had any desire to get involved in any type of politics until really that day, and I didn't like the way things were going. And I was like, well, I might just happen to run one day. And I was talking with James Clark one night, and he said, well, why don't you run? Okay, so 2024 election came around, and I decided to throw my name in the hat for the. Well, excuse me. Let me back up a little bit. They had an open seat when Councilman Jones had moved out to New Fairview, and his seat became vacant. And I was already on the ethics board at that time, so I was like, well, let me apply for that open seat and see if maybe I can get in, and then run when his term is up at the end of the year. And they went with Elisa Lena Kugel at the time, which great pick. She was a great lady, and she did really good on city council. Um, the way the city council went about appointing that ultimately led to some policy changes and some changes in the charter to address an open seat on council should we have one again. Um, but that really lit the fire under me to run for city council when the time came. And at the time of the election was seats 4, 5, and 6. I chose 6 just because, hey, I like to be last, right? Um, so I put in my paperwork, I believe on the first or second day. I think I was still on a cane at that time after my knee replacement. Um, Went in, met with the city secretary, put in my paperwork, and started the campaign. One thing I learned is you don't start too early because you can get burned out very quick. That was mid-February, and the election that year was, I want to say, May 4th or 5th. So it was a solid almost 3 months of me campaigning, and I was chasing yard signs up and down 156. So we won't be doing yard signs, in February again. That's for sure. We're going to probably start around mid-March. That way, we only got about 45 to 50 days of chasing signs due to our crazy wind here in Texas.
What accomplishments from your last term are you most proud of?
This is going to be, it's, I'm going to get laughed at for this, but we have lowered the taxes, even though the taxes have increased. we've lowered the M&O rate, which is our maintenance and operations rate. I don't know the exact number of what the M&O rate is and the INS rate, but I know combined it's 0.67, which is a terrible number we've learned recently thanks to social media. But we have effectively lowered the M&O rate. If you go back and watch the city council meeting from, I don't remember the exact date, I want to say August 14th of 2025, I kept pushing to get lower and lower and lower. At one point, I even tried 64.5 cents for a combined rate. Ultimately, could not get city council's approval, but I did manage to get it down to a 0.67 from where the city had proposed to a 0.70, which equated to about $325,000 that the city had to cut out of the budget to make things work for 2026 fiscal year. So that's one of my biggest accomplishments, is that we're continuing to lower the tax base. However, the rate did go up from the year before due to the bond passing, but we made it essentially just a steady rise of this. City was told that it was going to be a 7-cent increase on your taxes for the fire department bond, and that's essentially what we kept it at, was just a 7% increase over the 0.60 that we were at the year before.